If there was a message you would hope people would get from this podcast, this discussion we've had, what would that be?
Really, that the journey of health is one of empowerment. It's not some sort of problem to be solved perchance. If you really look at your situation and your struggles as gifts that have not been elucidated yet, gifts that haven't been unwrapped, rather than a problem that has to go away, it will make such a huge difference the way you approach it and your gratitude throughout it, which can really become such a beautiful, magical, wonderful experience of learning about your life and coming to conclusions that really can make your life better and make the life of others around you even better, by default. If you just, instead of looking at it like a negative thing all the time, like this is bad and I want it to go away, like a child might want
Mhm.
to do, if we can just look at it like,
Amanda, how lovely to see you again.
you too, great to see you as well.
Thank you. I can't believe it's been more than a year.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Well, having experiences.
Okay, we'll call it that then.
I wanted to have a discussion with you today about naturopathy, and I wonder if you could start us off by describing what that is to you.
Well, Adrian, I don't even know what naturopathy is anymore. Like it's changed so much, and I'm not a naturopathic doctor.
Hmm.
Meaning I don't use the title. I cannot use the title because, I was a whistleblower in school. I was really vocal
Hmm.
about what was happening to
Hmm.
our medicine,
Yeah.
and so I was trying to figure out I'm like an eclectic holistic practitioner ultimately, because I take from multiple disciplines
Hmm.
that I know are stable and that work time and time again.
Hmm.
But the naturopathic world, like they've gone green allopath, right? And
Yeah.
like I just saw a post from the CAND, the Canadian Association of Naturopathic Doctors, that was promoting immunizations as a
Oh,
cornerstone of health, as a
uh-oh.
cornerstone. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Not a
So,
tombstone.
no, yeah, they should have said tombstone. I just shake my head. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a naturopathic girlfriend. She's also not practicing, who
Yeah.
lives in the area.
Yeah.
And we just shake our heads when we see this stuff. We're
Okay.
like, really? Okay, cool. So, what is naturopathic medicine? Now it's green allopathy, and I don't recommend it. But if you were to understand the basic principles of natural
Yeah.
approaches, it's homeostasis and returning the body into balance, listening to the wisdom of the body, helping it do what it wants, and assisting with inputs that are needed to, move those expressions forward in a balanced way to hopefully have the least amount of discomfort as possible.
Hmm.
Um, the more nuanced the practitioner, the better for that.
Hmm.
But it's really about expression and rebalancing.
So you're working with the body's own wisdom, and you're also in a very, not just it's the right word. You're not just having a conversation with them. You're also observing in that kind of level as to what's going on with them. So you're reading a lot more into it.
Yeah, you're not looking at symptoms as the problem. It's
Hmm.
a real sea change of thought. The symptoms are showing you what the body is trying to attempt to do,
Yes.
to make corrections.
Hmm.
And you're leading with that.
Hmm.
Not to go, oh, let's just get rid of the symptom and then we're good. And
Hmm.
you can use any approach to help the body move forward. You can use supplements, you can use food, you can use breath work, you can use, I mean, a million things that you can apply
Hmm.
and help the body to do this,
Hmm.
going forward. But the drug approach is suppressive. The goal is suppressive.
Yeah.
So just stop the mechanism that is creating that expression and you're
Hmm.
good,
So
right?
then, if you define the symptom as the problem, you effectively make the problem go away because you've cancelled the body's effect that's causing the symptom, but you haven't dealt with the problem. It just appears you
Correct.
have. Right. Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So would it be fair to say then that that kind of approach is much more supportive and much more effective long term because you're helping the body do what it needs to do, be it expressions of toxin repair, whatever it is, and it will stay done, as opposed to the other one where you're just building and building a problem up, like shoving more and more junk in the cupboard. Eventually, the closet's going to pull open and all the shit you put in there is going to come pouring out.
Totally. And then when you're in that situation, now you need to be more nuanced and careful the way that you take those layers off, because you really could put the body into such a severe healing crisis
Yeah.
that it could falter. And that's where you really need to, a practitioner is more, it's like gently peeling off, damaged layers without just allowing the whole geyser to just, you know, push out, and it's too intense.
Yeah.
And that's why prevention would be the best thing ever,
Yeah.
because none of that would ever be necessary. Just don't do it in the first place and you're good. But that's not where, a lot of people are at.
Yeah.
They've been poisoned from birth and suppressing for a long time.
Yeah.
And so this is why we need things like supplements, and we need other tools to come in to like help people come off drugs that are suppressing in a gentle way, help them come to their own awareness because their minds are messed up from everything.
Hmm.
So they understand what's going on, so they understand their bodies, they're reconnected. It's like a whole journey that begins in with health to
Yeah.
get them, clear and back to where they should have probably been if none of that happened. And
Yeah.
they would have been glorious. But
Yeah.
here we are dealing with all of this nuance.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's not just a question that if here, take this pill or take this lotion and this potion and away you go. There's a much grander thing that needs to go on in order to have the effect of helping the person become harmonic and balanced again and cleansed.
Yeah, the why of the story.
Exactly. Yeah. Gotcha.
Why are you doing it, and what, and are you hearing what's going on with your body, and
Yeah.
is this the approach to get you there? And if you're listening, able to listen and understand the why, then you can really learn a lot and empower yourself, which I think is the whole goal of why people like to suffer so much,
Yeah.
because when they alleviate their suffering, they have a real juxtaposition of awakening.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
think contrast is a very powerful thing in life. I spent years thinking about this, but everything that I've worked out I want came out of clarity I got from experiencing what I didn't want. And that had to come first. Otherwise, I'd have had no idea to say, right, that sucks. This looks pretty good. Be it in
Yeah.
relationships or health or anything.
Yeah. Where do we feel pulled toward, and where do we feel repelled away from?
Yeah.
And what is that saying to us?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole journey of our awakening, really,
Yeah.
ultimately.
Yeah.
And most of us have been damaged, from vaccines or other things. And we've been learning from our experiences of pain and discomfort and
Yeah.
things we don't want to help direct us
Yeah.
to the things we do want.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I have a question for you. What would you consider to be the top 5 most powerful things someone could do to regain their health and maintain their health?
I would say the very first would be to just clean up your life, like just clean. Where it depends on the individual personality
Hmm.
where these, what order these would go in.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of individuals, once they start to eat cleaner and stop the things that are poisonous from coming into their world, like alcohol, just wherever they're abusing things,
Hmm.
I see that their minds are able to come back online a little bit more, and then they can make better decisions. So really just wherever you're not supposed to be doing something, have the discipline to say no to that thing. So if it's white sugar, as know it tastes great, but an adult would say, I know that's not good for my body, and I know it's leading to my diabetes or my um, you know, liver problems or gut problems or whatever it is,
Hmm.
and having the maturity to then say, I'm going to stop doing that behavior. So where one can act is just not doing a thing, or even just fasting. Just stop.
Hmm.
Just stop the insults. Okay,
Yeah.
that's huge. The second would be then to actively clean up.
Mhm.
So coffee enemas, for example, are really great thing to learn because it's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. It's always there for you when you're in pain or your gut's upset or you're constipated or your mood is off or your hormones are off. You know, it's like a really powerful blood and liver cleanser that can take you far, can really take you far in a short amount of time. So that I really promote those because it's clean and it's a cleanup crew for your blood, and it really helps your liver then after do more of that cleanup.
Mhm.
I really do like that approach of actively, helping the system. Um, I really also think that people need to learn about urine therapy. I really, really do because it's anything that's life-saving should be known about. I don't
Yes.
care what the thinking is about it, wherever your programming is, where you want to go, ew, that's gross, whatever, that's fine. Just if you're at a place where you're watching us, I would assume that you're mature enough to know that there's a lot of things in life that you've been programmed
Yeah.
to go the other way with, and that when new information comes that you have cognitive dissonance and how to work through that, like when you
Mhm.
get triggered, what that looks like. I'm sure there's a lot of pattern recognizers that are
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with something like urine therapy, but especially if you have like anaphylaxis, some any severe reaction to a sting, a bite, a food, an allergy, a spring allergy, your own urine has the antidote, and you can serve your own life, using it
Well,
topically, internally,
I'll give you
all
a quick
kinds of
example of
ways.
that. I'm stopping keeping bees this year, but for the last 3 years, I've kept bees at the local community garden. And last year, the guy that I do it with was away, and I was looking after them on my own. And the site is up in the hills, nowhere near anything, very little phone signal. And I got stung. A whole bunch got inside my suit. I got stung 16 times around my legs, around my neck. And I thought, right, this could be potentially a real big problem because I can't get back to the car and get back to where I need to be. So I covered myself in my own pee and then I drank a load in a cup. And I wasn't even particularly sore that night. I looked like I'd been beaten up a bit, but nowhere near where I should have been.
Yeah,
And
very,
that
very
kind of knowledge
powerful.
is really important.
Really important, like
Yeah.
literally life-saving. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why I'm not shy to share it.
Yeah.
I don't mind the judgments and stuff because I had the judgments as well when I
Hmm.
first found out about it.
We
Well,
all
not
do.
the first time, really the second time. The first time I used it topically for scabies and it healed my problem,
Mm.
and then I forgot all about it. But when I remembered it and then found out about drinking it,
Hmm.
I had the same thing. Ooh, gross, like, all your negative associations with
Yeah.
urine came up to the surface, which is totally cool. Like, let it come up. Just
Yeah.
if people would just learn that it's okay, if you're negative thinking, which is all your programming, when it comes up, that's not you. Like,
Yeah.
it's not. So just, oh, yeah, there's the tapes, blah, blah, blah. Oh, blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
Oh, blah, 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 right? Okay, that's just let it come out like clouds clearing by the sun, and then go, okay, so what do I really think about this? Oh, let me
Yeah.
read more. I don't know anything on the topic. Let me
Mm.
educate myself.
If you want to read more,
Let-
I put a web page with a whole load of stuff on it.
you did amazing with that. You
Yeah.
did incredible work to help bring urine therapy to the light, and
Mm.
so I thank you for that because again, like this is major stuff. My daughter, who's 12, knows how to use her urine for anything. Like the worry level goes way down
Yeah.
as a parent when you know your child knows how to use these things
Yeah.
for emergencies and to help people help themselves. Like it's really
Yeah. It's
a
huge.
settled mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's huge. So,
it's huge. So then I would say the next would be there's a few there would be all about the mind and emotions and really sorting that shit out. Okay, like just whether you have to write a diary, whether you dance to express your emotions, whether you however you need to get your emotional clearance happening for
hmm.
you, that is like one of the top 5 because we build up all this emotional stress inside of our bodies and we just cope with it. We don't release, we don't reflect well, we don't go into the sensations. We like to avoid the discomfort so much. And that's why one of the things I like so much is the Undo app, which is a natural meditation direction,
Yeah.
because it's exactly that. It's not
Yeah.
just, I'm going to meditate and thoughts are going to go by and I'm going to let the thoughts go by, and that kind of traditional meditation. Mm-mm. This is, I'm going to scan my body and I'm going to find where there's discomfort.
Yeah.
And or I have a thought, I'm going to trace the thought to see where else is this thought come from in my
Yeah.
body.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to go into it deeper and I'm going to feel all the
Mm-hmm.
feels, you know? And in insights, cool insights are going to come about that.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get like my own release
Yeah.
and feel lighter and clearer and more
Yeah.
energized and sleep better, like all the benefits
Yeah.
of just not suppressing your emotions
Yeah.
and actually acknowledging what you feel. So that would
Absolutely.
be
Well,
my
it's huge. Yeah. And I'll add a story to that. And also, I've got a podcast which is coming out, I think, Sunday night. I was speaking to Nick Lavery, who's the Olympic rower that's a real big proponent of that. And he was telling me some interesting things about how it's affected his training and his recovery. But as an example for me, when I explained to you earlier on, we were talking before we recorded this about the breakthrough I had, part of that was I noticed a lot of tension around here. And I tend to feel stress in my solar plexus, which is also a typical Virgo thing. But when I went, actually sat there and said, right, and there was a very specific point of discomfort. And when I sat there, Amanda, it was like I stepped back to that traumatic moment I told you about, that one of the three, literally, it took my breath away because it was so visceral and so real. It was like I was there. And immediately, and that's been a huge stress point for me, and I've tried not to think about it, immediately it started to get kind of less fuzzy and it had less emotional impact. And if I go looking for it now, I can't even find it. So rather like in German New Medicine, where they talk about trauma being stored in the body, if you do this meditation, and I recommend you do too, you will find areas in your body all the time that will suddenly release a memory from decades ago sometimes. But also you can use it during the course of the day when something happens, it doesn't go your way, or you feel stressed, or someone's unpleasant with you. Instead of just brushing on and moving on with your day, you can settle down at a moment and say, where do I feel that? And you'll notice where you feel it in your body and you can resolve it immediately. And if you're not carrying all that shit with you, it's as toxic as any other toxic product you could put in your body, I think. So it's a massive, really easy way to release. And if you lie in bed like I do in the morning, and I just kind of let my mind wander, I wander around my body and I feel it. You'll notice things like there'll be a pain that comes up and you'll think about it and you'll sit with it and it disappears. And you become so much more aware of all these subtle things that are going on in this magnificent outfit we wear to experience life through. But you can release all the junk, and you're absolutely right. It's a massive point of detoxification.
Yes, very, very essential. I mean, I just did an ayahuasca ceremony, a few
Mm,
ayahuasca ceremonies, and grandfather tobacco ceremony to start, which was purging. So
yeah,
it's purging emotions,
yeah,
purging programming, purging all kinds of things that have attached to you energetically and have been condensed.
yeah,
And you feel, after you go through this, you feel more yourself, but also you just feel lighter.
yeah.
You feel physically lighter, you feel mentally lighter, you don't feel as burdened by everything, and it's like night and day how you feel.
Mm,
um and this is why I promote purging, cleansing, releasing, movement, breath work,
yeah,
vibrational work of any sort. Get it out, get it moving, get
mm,
it, like, this is a place of constant movement.
yeah,
Well, it's a place of stillness, but also
yeah,
ironically of constant movement inside of ourselves. And so I feel like that work is, you know, tantamount to like becoming an adult, healing the inner child,
yeah,
not letting your ego run you constantly. Um, it's always going to be a challenge. It's always going to be work. There's always going to be new challenges, but that's what makes you more resilient. That's what keeps you on your toes. It what keeps you in that zone.
mm,
Um, yeah, very, very, very important.
mm,
So I would say the last piece would be, there's a bunch there, but I would say anything to do with your awareness of water, like where water is in your life, what the type of waters you're ingesting, being aware of structured water, what the fourth phase of water is,
mm,
prayers with water when you're showering, asking the water to cleanse your field, your energy field, to um, just really be conscious of the intelligence of water and how much water is part of us,
Mhm.
and how to keep your waters cleansed and clean. Everything to do with just water awareness and knowledge, I think is really important,
Mhm.
because these are big pieces we're talking about that will
Yes.
get you a lot.
Yeah.
If you understand water, for example, then you understand homeopathy, because you know that water has a memory, and you can program the water, you
Yeah.
can put information into the water,
Yeah.
and then you can take that as medicine, right? There's just so many layers of
Mhm.
awareness
And by the way, if that
around
sounds
water.
weird to someone, if you look at Masaru Emoto's work or Veda Austin more recently, you'll have very clear pictures of how water is programmed, and hopefully that will make you think a little bit more about the kind of stuff that you're putting into yourself in so-called entertainment, because it's affecting all the water in you.
Yes. And Fiona Gardner's work, because she does messages in urine.
Oh wow.
So there's messages. So then there's the Bigelsons doing the messages in blood,
Blood.
which is a lot of water.
Hmm.
Veda Austin, the messages in just her
Yeah.
freezing water technique. And then the urine, Fiona Gardner's messages in urine. And you see that all the waters will show us holograms and will show us information. And
Yeah.
one of the things the Bagelsons are trying to teach is that the artifacts that we think that people who are doing live blood cell analysis or dark field microscopy are seeing are actually holograms. They're not real artifacts, like physical artifacts.
Mm.
They're holographic information that is actually diagnostic. It can give you a lot of insight about what's happening in your holism.
Mm.
And rather than, oh, I see, like, a spike protein, or I see a this, or I see that, that's not what's happening. Or I see a self-assembling whatever.
Nanobot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's information about what the body holographically is projecting.
Mm.
And so you can use it for diagnostic information, and you can use it for correction.
Mm.
But we really mistake a lot of materialistic aspects for subtle energy.
Yeah.
Like we're still very materialistically programmed,
Hmm.
right? And instead of understanding that really everything's come from the spiritual and become dense here,
Hmm.
and so the source is spiritual, not material.
Hmm.
And we'll always come back there. No matter how far down you go into materialism, you're going to come full circle back to the spirit.
Yeah.
And so understanding that and learning that is really powerful, because you can then think about, like, I even think about what the water is like in the food that I'm eating.
Hmm.
And what's the water like, say you eat out, I mean, or you buy something that's packaged to packaged food. What's a water like that was put into that food, and
And
what's
what's
it
it been
saying
exposed to on the way?
on the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I tune and charge and alter all the waters of all the things that come into my house in my life. And sometimes I'll use like a singing bowl tuner
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
or I have chimes that I will retune the water, or I
Hmm.
have my terahertz frequency devices, the
Yeah.
iTeracare one, and I'll
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
to reorganize the water,
Yeah.
and it's very potent.
But it's huge, and it's funny, isn't it? Because the subtle stuff, the subtle energies, they have a much bigger impact than people realize. Much bigger.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Could
Yeah.
we talk very briefly about the 12 major tissue salts? I did a quick podcast, a long podcast with Steve Falcon the other day, and I watched the one that you did with Bear Lando, and Steve and yourself and Dawn. And that was really very interesting, and has been amazing for me and the people around me to get such a big jump health-wise and energy-wise just by paying attention to that.
Yeah, and I mean, we're getting into like a biochemistry awareness,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's coming down to the battery electrical system that we are. And when you know that we're run like battery, and that we're run like the water communicating its electrical mesh is how things happen instantaneously, right?
Yeah.
Meaning the things we're thinking, or say nerve impulses, are really water impulses of electrical nature, and how that interplays with light. And if you understand, now electricity and its relationship to water, its relationship to somnoluminescence,
Yep.
and the word
Hmm.
and vibration, it all starts to come together, where
Yeah.
you're like, okay, now the tissue salts play a biochemical role for the electrical aspect, to like a spark plug aspect,
Mm,
to keep the system electrically moving forward and alive.
mm,
And why is it in every single cell of our body? Why are these 12 salts found? Well, because they're essential.
mm.
The body needs to produce them and use them to move electrons, and whatever we're calling that. Because we
Yep.
don't have the language any, we don't,
No,
these concepts are not even fully accurate to where
no.
how we're describing it, but we're using the best language we can to do
Yeah.
so. And as new biology, continues to evolve, we will have better ways of explaining packets of light.
Yeah.
Maybe we're using biophotons right now,
Yeah.
maybe later it'll be a different way of explaining it, but
Hmm.
we are photonic light, we are electrical energy, and it without water and without the minerals that help to transmit that,
Mm.
where we wouldn't be breathing and living, and
Yeah.
being able to pull in the electrical energy from the ether as well. When we learn to ground, we know about grounding.
Yep.
As we're electrical, we build up static.
Hmm.
This is why we need to ground.
Hmm.
Once we tune our minds into where electricity and water is life, a lot of things change the way you see the world.
Yeah.
And the tissue salts are like a huge part of this. Is why we eat food,
Yeah.
why we have food, or for some of these inputs. Eventually, we could probably get them from different types of breath work, or
Yeah.
different types of. I think we used to breathe things like pollen. We used to get just naturally
Hmm.
from the air.
Hmm.
We've lost that. We've lost that capability. Then we had to go into eating food and
Hmm.
digesting food so that we could actually get the energy we need.
Yeah.
But we still have these redundant systems that we can employ using all kinds of various vibrational methods and,
Yeah.
tuning in methods to
Mm.
really. But yeah, tissue salts. I usually take, my astrological tissue salts and the melange, which are all of them,
Hmm.
once a month. I do a course each month
Hmm.
to just make sure that they're present. Same thing with my daughter.
Yeah. No, it's powerful stuff. I've got some specific protocol questions which I'd like to ask you because I've noticed that there are a lot of common questions people seems to ask, and you will have obviously different approaches for different people. But I've noticed as well you've got some amazing products on your website. I'll put a link to that in the show notes for this. We recently bought some stuff for my girlfriend from you as well. Um, but so for example, if someone had cellulite, which is a problem a lot of women experience, particularly, is there something you would say to them and recommend to them to help them with that?
Well, a few things. Generally, there's an estrogen component. So if you have a lot of xenoestrogens or
Mhm.
false estrogens, then you want to do a cleanse. You want to clean that up.
Where would you
Um,
get false estrogens from in the environment, I guess?
yeah, vaccines, glyphosate, so pesticides, even wearing polyester, it's an estrogen mimicker, microplastics that get into the food, into the diet. So pesticides, herbicides, microplastics,
Sure.
vaccines, drugs, residues, they are, or they've taken the pill, so synthetic estrogens, they don't really go away. They get held into the fat of the body, and they can cause all kinds of just low level inflammatory issues, creating problems with fat metabolism, affecting the gallbladder. Sort of all ties into the liver health, because hormones are really pulled through the liver, or managed by the endocrine system, and the liver is
Hmm.
the biggest organ of the endocrine system.
Hmm.
So everything sort of goes down from there. So making sure you're getting enough iodine, making sure you're getting enough healthy fats, doing coffee enemas to cleanse the liver, keep the body as clean as possible. And one really great remedy for cellulite is actually urine therapy. Either doing the rubbing into the areas of cellulite every day until dry. So you just really just do layers of rubbing the
Hmm.
fresh urine. Or you can do poultices or wraps, where you take cloth, soak it in the fresh urine, and then wrap the area. So say it's the thigh, wrap the thigh, pin it, and then put something over it so it obviously doesn't drip or get everything wet. and then leave that on for a number of hours, like you would
Mm,
a poultice or a liniment, and it will just soak the urine, in through the skin, and it
mm,
will help with a lot of release. A lot of fascial stability can come because this puckering affects the fascia.
mhm,
So really, the easiest remedy is using a urine wrap
mm.
approach.
That's really interesting. Thank you.
Mhm.
What about, I noticed on your website, one of the things that it popped out to me because I'm looking for, if you've ever looked at my new website, one of the things I talk about is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, or as I prefer to call it, the 20-80, because I look at it the wrong way around otherwise, which is what 20% of causes can get 80% of the effects or consequences. So when I was looking at that, there are so many men that have erectile dysfunction. It's like 18% worldwide now, isn't it?
Mhm.
You have particular products for that. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Well, generally what's going on there
Mm,
is a couple things. Really, it's coming down to, again, the false estrogens are that we're all exposed to,
mm,
and they affect women and men, obviously differently. It can affect the prostate quite considerably, and if there's chronic low level inflammation in the prostate and there's a zinc deficiency coupled with that, you are making testosterone that's like DHT, which is not like the best format. So it's just struggling to make the hormones that it needs to
mm.
function properly. And it's not able to make the correct hormone for the job. So usually I suggest making sure that there's enough zinc in the diet, or take a supplement if needed, to um, assess the prostate, like where is prostate health, where's liver health. Again, doing things like coffee, taking things like magnesium. Now, magnesium with DMSO is on the DMSO store website. I would use that one
Yeah.
because DMSO increases blood flow. And it's a blood flow problem, but not just a blood flow
Mhm.
problem. Why isn't the blood flowing to the area? It's because the signaling isn't there. But you are also working on blood health in
Yeah.
general, so that is a good approach. And then pine pollen, we have a lodgepole pine pollen available at yumnaturals.store, and that'll get you going pretty quickly. Just be prepared that it will get the testosterone levels up pretty decently, pretty quickly.
Another one from the
um,
trees then.
Yeah, yes. All the medicine from the trees
Yeah.
really help with stiffness.
Well, it makes sense that a product from the wood would help with wood, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well,
I
that's
love it.
interesting. Thank you. What about endometriosis? Because I see that as a really big growing problem for women, especially now.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of misdiagnosis going on
Yeah.
too, where you have doctors that are just desperate to give someone a label,
Yeah.
and also to offer the things like, oh, well, we can fix that by just taking your uterus out. Solved. I think a lot of it is the whole obstetrics and gynecology. They're just so waiting and ready to like cut you and like take
Yeah.
stuff out of you,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is
if the only
not
tool
what
you've
you
got's a
want.
knife, then you're going to want to cut everything, aren't you?
Oh yeah, and also like thinking about surgeries, thinking about those things, that's like the way down the line approach. Like I've said this before, but that's your last approach, not your first approach. That's like nothing else is working, nothing else is helping you. Okay, you always have the surgery as an option. Not that it's going to make anything really better. It's just going to give you a new problem, but whatever.
Hmm.
So the approaches are cleaning things up. This is always going to be what has to happen. There's an excess condition. You have, again, if you were to do a hormone panel, you would find that's all out of whack. Okay. Generally, progesterone's dropped off the map. It's not producing proper estrogens. You have the false estrogens running the show. You've got now imbalance in pH and other factors that are creating an endemic issue of candida. Often you will see candida, or you will test for candida. You will see that in these cases. And that goes back to the xenoestrogen heavy metal load that they have in their bodies. So always test for heavy metals if you want to see where that's at, or just act as if
Hmm.
we know we're exposed. And like I have friends, I had a friend here the other day who showed me his heavy metal load, and he said, I eat well, I eat organic, I don't, I don't take vaccines, I don't do any of these things. And look at where aluminum, barium, and strontium were off the charts. I'm like, oh, that's the chemtrails.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's
the
exactly what's in chemtrails.
yeah.
That's why you have a high load, even though you take care of yourself.
Yes.
And he did a course with MMS, with chlorine dioxide solution, and cleaned them all up, cleaned it
Hmm.
all up, which is another potent remedy I recommend highly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so endometriosis really is like, imagine you have had candida boring holes and creating pockets of expression of tissue that shouldn't be outside of the uterus, but it's gotten outside the uterus and now it's reacting to hormones.
Mm.
And so there's quite a bit of cleaning up of old tissue. DMSO is really essential for this. Getting rid of the heavy metals using MMS is essential for this. I have like an entire protocol. Like people, if they just want to join my membership, they get
Hmm.
access to all these protocols.
Yeah.
Um, because in our directory, like the basics of everything will be there. So if they're
Mm.
like, oh, where I have this, hammer toe or whatever,
Hmm.
let's look that up. Okay, I know where to start. I know how I can move forward with this protocol and start to heal myself, and
Yeah.
then lift out of the pain and discomfort, get your brain on, and then you can move forward with
Yeah.
even more solutions. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for that.
Welcome.
You and I spoke about this a little bit earlier on, but if you're all right, what are you up to right now?
Well, it's a lot of formulating. I have made a few new products. One, I made a hemorrhoid booty balm.
Wow.
um, because and it's interesting how these things kind of happen. Because I'm not like, I'm going to get up and make a hemorrhoid cream today. It doesn't happen like that. It was like a friend of mine had, it's very common actually to get hemorrhoids.
Mm.
We had a real banger of one apparently, and he used something of mine that had, some of the herbs in it,
Yeah.
and he said it worked amazing. He's like, you got to tell people that you can use like this I'm like, well, why don't we enhance it? Like if that formula is working because there's astringents in it and zinc and stuff, I'm like, I'll just do one better, and made a synergistic product with, horse chestnut and witch hazel and all the things that really help the vein to tighten back up again and then to lift.
Hmm.
And so that was just recent. And then I was seeing this need for natural wild yam cream, and I know what's going on in the market. A couple of them went really viral, and then women were just clamoring for them, and then they would never be in stock anymore. And I felt like I could enhance that formula with DMSO
Mm.
because no one's doing that. So I designed a DMSO wild yam cream with Vitex and Black Cohosh as like assistant partners.
Mm.
And it's extremely powerful. And it's four methods of extract. So I'm using DMSO as a tincture medium
Mm.
in this particular one, a water extract and an oil extract, and also an alcohol tincture extract. So four
Wow.
extracts are going in. Very, very potent. Um, I needed it anyway because I'm going, through the process. I've been using my progesterone cream that I also offer, the
Hmm.
Nat Pro, which is great. And in my video, Happy Hormones, I talk about how to cleanse, estrogens using that.
Hmm.
But this is a good one to carry you forward because it's not just supplying the much needed progesterone as the cream is doing. It's actually retraining the hormone system
Hmm.
to work again, to work
Yeah.
properly. So I can't keep it on the shelf. It keeps running out. So I'm going to make it again. So I've been like having to keep making this cream like every couple of weeks. Um, and then I'm doing a lot of writing, writing a urine therapy book with Mike Cardamone. I'm writing the directory. I'm on edits of like F, I think, out of Z. So we'll get there eventually, but I'm picking at that. And writing, we're trying to release a course on Yummy Doctor once a month,
Hmm.
um, like as a goal, just keep building courses. I'm
Hmm.
working a lot with the members. The members will have issues and health concerns come up. So every Thursday I have a live Q&A that I do for members. They can bring their questions. I usually do a teaching and a clearing, like a cleansing, like a
Hmm.
tuning at the beginning, and then go into what's happened that week, and then we go into question Q&A for a couple hours.
Hmm.
So that, it's keeping me busy. And now it's like spring coming, and my mind's all in the gardens, what I'm growing,
Yeah.
what I'm doing this year.
Yeah.
Um, all this stuff. Got two new cats from my brother because my brother passed away.
I'm
So I got
sorry.
getting just all the changes coming from that. And
Hmm.
yeah, interesting times going to Music and Sky in June.
Yes.
So that's coming up too. And I'll be teaching about DMSO there. I really feel like I've come full circle to teach about DMSO again. Like I
Yeah.
taught about it, then I went into COVID, and then now I'm
Yeah.
coming back. Like, okay, remember where we were?
Yeah.
Now there's like deeper levels of awareness because everyone should know about DMSO.
It is the most important thing, I think, and it's something I'll never be without. I've done a deal with a supplier in the UK, so if anybody wants that over here, I can get that now for them. Because for a while it
Awesome.
was getting hard to get
Yeah,
because there's only one supplier in the world now, and they are reticent to supply anyone who's using it for any kind of health thing.
I know.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if you're
we're
a horse,
gonna.
you can have it.
Yeah, if you're a horse, you're good. Yeah. There's the thing is it's so used in so
Yeah,
many industries for
yeah,
so many purposes.
yeah.
Will never not be without, like it will
No,
always be. And
exactly.
and we know that, like, there was a nasty article put out that mentioned me, and it was like attacking DMSO, and then it's dangerous, and it's like it's I don't know whether to laugh
Why
or
did they
cry when I
store
read.
embryos in if it's so dangerous?
Yeah, I know. Why does it never destroy tissue no matter what?
Yeah.
And the tissue is always 100% comes back from being fully immersed in pure DMSO. Funny
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
But but it's like I see a lot of logical fallacies out there where people are just so critical because, again, like I said, this nihilism has infiltrated, and people are just attacking everything around them because they don't realize that they've been attacking themselves, but also they've been attacking this projected enemy that's been trying to suppress us through the
Yeah.
agenda, right?
Yeah.
But what's happening is they're just now attacking all kinds of stuff, like
But just
just
attacking for the sake of attacking, aren't they?
for the sake of attacking, because everything's wrong,
Yeah.
and everything's bad. And
Yeah.
so I see this like infiltrated the truth community and the natural health community. But like, for example, here's one logical fallacy I see a lot. The method of production um, can sometimes be a problem, right? So sometimes the method of production can create an issue with how the end product turns out or not.
Mm.
Sometimes the method of production is fine, meaning by the end, you don't have any of the steps of what it was how it was produced in the end product, right? Like if you understand biochemistry and just chemistry in general, because that's like my background's all in chemistry, we would use all kinds of things that one could construe as toxic as an intermediary for an extraction process, right? Like even pure alcohol could be considered a severe toxin,
Hmm.
but that's not seen in the end product. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, DMSO is toxic because it's a runoff from the pulp and paper industry,"
Yeah.
and that's just a complete logical fallacy. And I think that's very misleading. What it
Hmm.
does is it scares people away from something because of the processing
Hmm.
rather than understanding, well, if you were to take the end product and purify it, all you're getting is DMSO in that product,
Hmm.
maybe a little bit of activated charcoal residue
Hmm.
from the cleansing process. But I say to those people, would you rather that the pulp and paper industry, yeah, it has its own problems. Okay, that's different from what DMSO is. So it
That was
has
my
its own
background, by the
problems.
way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
it's toxic. The way they
Yep.
do it is wrong, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but that's them, not DMSO. That's their problem.
Mm.
So you're making that DMSO's problem. That's a logical fallacy.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, that's a dirty ass industry that should change for sure. But that's not what DMSO is. DMSO is just a waste product from that. Would you rather we just throw it out? Would that be the better way? Is that would make people happy if we just throw that DMSO out and we do it a different way? We do it where we still need a lot of machinery because it's distillates, it's layers of distillates. And the majority of it is just taken from lignin with the first white alcohol. There's like 2 alcohols that are used
Mhm.
to get it out of the lignin, and then you purify it. That's it. Those are the steps of getting DMSO. So the demonization of it through because you don't agree with the methods or the industry that it's associated with is, again, there's like not a lot of clear thinking going on.
Mhm.
But what's unfortunate about that is it's scaring people away from it, which
Yeah.
is a shame, a real shame, because we already have the FDA that does a great job of that. We don't need any more. We don't need any more evil agencies
No,
taking people away from the medicine, okay?
no.
But it's this weird perfectionism. Like if it's not done, like wearing beads and gemstones and like where you prayed to Allah before you like do the extraction or something, it's a wash,
Mhm.
like it's literally throwing the baby out with the bathwater
Mm.
and blaming it all for all the woes. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's a real bummer, but it is life saving. And when I was teaching it in Confluence, again, I was saying, look, at least have it in your first aid kit. At least have it for like, if someone's having a heart attack, that's your first go to. If
Mm.
someone's having a stroke, that's your first go to. Second would be urine if you can get it in them,
Yeah,
right? But like DMSO can stop a
yeah,
stroke.
yeah.
Okay. So it's not something you go, it's dangerous, it's poison, when you're saying it can literally save your life. So
Mhm.
chill.
I have some in my bag that goes everywhere with me just in case.
Yeah. I
Not
mean,
not
you
for
can
me
stop
necessarily.
hemorrhaging.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
yeah. It's hugely powerful. Which is
Like
interesting, by
think
the way, because on my new website, there's 3 books on there. There's mine, there's Dawn's, and there's yours. Those are the only 3
nice.
books on health I think have got anything going for them. So,
These people, they talk a good game, but they haven't done any research on this
exactly.
on these topics.
Yeah,
They really just get on a like a hate energy of hatred.
yeah.
Um so evil is influencing them when they do this. It's really sad because
It is.
they're not they're myopic. It's not a well balanced way of approaching the knowledge. It's like same thing with vitamin D. Like I get a lot of blowback for that. It's
Mm.
like, look, okay, I've been in the trenches of healthcare for 20 years,
Yeah.
and when you have someone who's when you have someone whose hip is broken and they're on Fosamax and they're on a statin and they're on like 5 different other freaking pills,
Well,
they're deficient in vitamin D, okay?
yeah.
And grandma is not wheeling herself out to the sunlight properly, and she has a long winter. Whatever. She needs to take this. She's not going to take mushroom powder in a smoothie. She's going to take a supplement that you give her because she's trained to take pills.
Yeah.
And this is how you're going to get her out of her deficiencies, out off of the drugs,
Mhm.
into her awareness. You get layered lifting out. And without our vitamins and minerals, that's a good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
People who criticize are not experienced. They
No.
do not. And I kind of hope the ones who do this find themselves in those situations and have to humble themselves.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
your teeth are breaking down. Hey, maybe you're not getting enough vitamin D and K2. And guess what? All the studies that study vitamin D in isolation are wrong. They shouldn't. That's a poor study model. Of course, you're going to get results that are poorly because this is not how the body works. The body doesn't work on one vitamin,
No.
it works as a synergy. So
Yeah.
you put the synergy in the body. And guess what? You get your amazing outcomes of then you read those studies
Yeah.
that say, look at the incredible outcomes that we see from this usage,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's I don't know what's happening out there, but people need to just breathe
Yeah. And center themselves.
center
Mm.
themselves and know that there's many ways to get to health, many ways to find homeostasis, and all kinds of circumstances where the idea of, I don't know, going barefoot out in the woods and doing breatharianism and wherever you want these people to be at, that's not where they're at.
Mm.
That's just not reality.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I agree. Thank you. If there was a message you would hope people would get from this podcast, this discussion we've had, what would that be?
really, that this the journey of health is one of empowerment. It's not some sort of problem to be solved perchance. If you really look at your situation and your struggles as gifts that have not been elucidated yet, gifts that haven't been unwrapped, rather than a problem that has to go away, it will make such a huge difference the way you approach it and your gratitude throughout it, which can really become such a beautiful, magical, wonderful experience of learning about your life and coming to conclusions that really can make your life better and make the life of others around you even better, by default. You know, if you just, instead of looking at it like a negative thing all the time, like this is bad and I want it to go away, like a child might want
Mhm.
to do, if we can just look at it like, all right, challenge accepted, and I'm going to get a gift and a lesson from this, maybe multiple gifts and lessons from this, and I'm going to take that on with bravery, then it would be a different, this whole place would be different. And the healing would come faster and the resolve would be more sweet, you know,
Mm.
rather than continue to avoid and hide and convolute and escape, and just try to seek other distractions, you know. And I would just say, like, get off the internet for a good while. Like, just stop consuming so much stuff. One thing that I really realized from my ayahuasca journey is that the programming, it's very easy to take. It's very easy for the body to attach to the programming.
Yep.
um, and we do have to cleanse from it from time to time and try to prevent it from getting into our psyche,
Mm.
because it's not just the conscious awareness, it's the subconscious that takes the information, and you carry it like baggage. And it's really important to release it and to clear it and to do a lot of spiritual cleansing,
Mhm.
vibrational cleansing. And I'm going to focus a lot more on vibrational hygiene, not just, you know, the physical hygiene,
Mhm.
but from the subtle layers, and
Yeah.
how not to take it on, but how not to live it, and make it believable in your reality. When are there entities, and when are there attachments, and when are there emotional,
Mhm.
um when you're an emotional sponge where you've taken on all kinds of stuff as an empath, like all these sorts of things, and how to release them.
Mm.
So that I think is not, it's overlooked a lot.
Yeah. No, I think
Yeah.
that's very powerful. Thank you. If people want to learn more about you and your products, where can they reach you, Amanda? I'll put links in the show notes as well.
I usually suggest to go to yummy.doctor, doctor's the domain, and to click on any one of my videos, and all of my socials are under every single one of my videos. So you can find me wherever I'm at, you know.
Yeah.
We've started another little YouTube channel with little shorts and bloops from like video cuts and
Yeah.
things, just to have a presence, because I'm so censored.
Hmm.
Even my Instagram now, they have censored me where I used to get like a couple thousand interactions. Now I get maybe 100. So they've been cracking down again on
Yeah.
our freedom of speech. I am going to start another podcast.
Brilliant.
It will be behind a paywall, because I feel like everything, what's changed for me is I only want those who really are worthy of the information now. I want to focus on those that have already done the groundwork.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take some emergency cases and things, but mainly I'm going into the private. Everything's private, or a paywall, or a layer before you can access it,
Yeah.
because you have to have the merit. The merit needs to be there for you to hold this information responsibly.
Yes.
And so I'm doing a new podcast on Substack. I'm going to try my hand at a Substack podcast. I've been successful there with just not being censored, which is
Yeah.
great,
Hmm.
at least for now, with articles and things.
Mm.
And so that's another great place if they want to learn more,
Hmm.
to go there. But Yummy.doctor has all the Yum Naturals store, DMSO.store, for all the products. My book, all that kind of stuff is all easy to find there.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.